Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this very important hearing today, and I want to thank you guys for all coming to testify. I'm pretty new to Congress myself. I represent Arizona's 2nd Congressional District, which is about 53% of Arizona. To start to educate myself on this very important issue, over the last couple of years, I've visited timber sales within the district. Just recently outside of Flagstaff, I went and saw a controlled burn, which was very impressive, the professionalism at which you guys were handling that. I also just went to the new sawmill outside of Flagstaff. I was also very impressed with that operation. We've gone to the Ecological Restoration Institute at NAU. My entire staff went there so we could learn more about this issue. And it is a very serious issue. I've had a lot of people in the district tell me they've been very concerned this year with the lack of moisture that we've got, and they feel like we're in a vulnerable situation, and we also have a couple fires right now burning in the district. Mr. Chapman, I want to start with you, and thank you for coming, sir. I want to thank you for what you do for Arizona, Northern Arizona communities. As you know, my district includes several areas prone to wildfires, including the Kaibab, the Coconino, Apache Sitgraves, and Tonto National Forests, which are all part of FORFRI. I've seen firsthand the work that is required to properly manage our forests and conduct hazardous fuel treatment. Like I said, I recently went to the new sawmill just outside of Flagstaff, which has already been instrumental in supporting thinning efforts, and I was proud to see how Northern Arizona is more than capable of meeting goals in President Trump's executive order. Mr. Chapman, can you speak to the impact of proactive fuel reduction efforts and how you've seen forest thinning as effective management strategy?
We see it every single day. We really have an incredibly fire-adapted system, and that system and how it burns is really up to us. And the collaborative process that we've established in Flagstaff allows us to, most days, turn a bad fire into not a big deal that you don't hear about because of those fuel treatments that we've done in the woods, because of the collaborative process. Building on Chief Muncie, we now have a really robust network of cameras around the Flagstaff area through a partnership with Arizona Public Service, the Arizona APS, the utility. So we're really trying to check all those boxes on community risk reduction efforts. We do the treatments, we do the monitoring, we do the maintenance, we do the annual collaboration between our first responders. So our state, federal, and local partners, when we get a call and we roll out, it doesn't really matter right away whether it's Forest Service or city or state land. We get there, we'll deal with that later, and the dispatch centers sort that out. So that collaborative process has been the game changer for us in both response and implementing those treatments and then maintaining those treatments. So thank you for the question and for the kind comments on our work in the community.
Yes, sir. You also mentioned in your testimony that in high-risk areas like Northern Arizona, wildfire risk reduction sees an estimated $7 return for every $1 invested. Some crucial research from Ecological Restoration Institute at NAU. Can you explain how risk reduction funding saves taxpayer dollars down the line?
Absolutely. We can look at some of the treatments around our community. We just heard about the Fraser Experimental Forest. We actually have the first experimental forest in the country in the Flagstaff area, the Fort Valley Experimental Forest. And there's a network of treatments that have taken place around that forest as well. Some of our treatments around the Flagstaff area and within FORFRI are starting to actually pay for themselves. They needed to be subsidized for a while before the timber industry that's doing this restoration work could get up to speed and have that capacity. And so it's really a long story. Like I said, FORFRI has been around almost 15 years now to get where we are. But those initial investments in providing the certainty that the trees will be made available to the industry to do this restoration work has been the game changer that it's allowing a company like the Restoration Forest Products that you went and visited to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into that facility. So when we actually see per acre boots on the ground, if we're spending, the NEPA, the management, the oversight, all of that work on the federal side, for every dollar that we're seeing of partners go into those projects, we're estimating, and I think it's probably a fairly low estimate because there's all these costs that we just can't calculate, that if we can prevent a $15 million fire with a couple $1,000s worth of subsidies for our treatments, then we're avoiding significant costs and we're staying in a positive space.
Yeah. I know that ponderosa pines are not considered the most valuable timber in the country. And I've talked to constituents and also industry leaders who say that one of their biggest challenges in bringing in private investments to help us deal with some of the fire mitigation efforts is that the Forest Service often doesn't extend them very long leases. So many of them won't come in because the investment just doesn't pencil out. They don't have a long enough access to these forests and to the timber to make their investment pencil. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, if you've heard of that being a problem as well, and if so, what you would like to see from the Forest Service.
Contracting is challenging. How we make sure that we take care of all of our loggers is very important for us. So we may have a family business that a long-term supply over 10 years to them may be 20,000 acres. We've got to make sure they get taken care of. At the same time, we have a big business coming in where a 10-year supply to them might be 200,000 acres. So how do we make sure that all of our workers in this space are being taken care of is challenging. And I think one of the big lessons of Forefry is that a large contract was offered in the early days and it wasn't successful. So I think there's a lot of parts into this challenging process of contracting that need to come together. Sometimes it's finding that assurance of long-term supply at multiple different scales, because the urgency here really is tough. I don't want any losers in the woods. I want them all to be winners. Our family businesses that have been doing this for a long time, the new folks coming in and making big investments, we need them all to be successful. And so figuring out what that right fit is with the contracting process, I don't think we have that figured out yet, but we sure are trying. And because we have that collaborative NEPA that's completed, we have the space to figure this out. So we're in a good position.
Mr. Chairman, will you allow me one more question?
I will.
Thank you.
Be quick.
Can you talk really quickly about grazing and how that can affect fire mitigation?
Targeted grazing, we talked about this in the Wildfire Commission report. It can play a really important role in providing that surface fuel reduction. The opportunity to go into these strategic areas where we know there's these fire pathways where the fire is going to move quickly through these areas. We've done the thinning. We've reduced that crown fire risk. Now we've got a fast-moving grass fire risk. How do we reduce that challenge? And so thinking targeted grazing opportunities could be a really good opportunity for mitigating that grass fire risk.
And that helps our ranchers at the same time, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.